The movie takes place largely in one location, a container that has been bumped into the sea by a hellacious storm. Inside the container is a heavily pregnant woman named Mia. She is a refugee from a near-future dystopian Spain that has returned to a dictatorship following an economic crisis. Mia and her husband Nico decide to flee for Ireland after losing their first child, who was taken away by the military and killed. The two are moving to secure passage on a cargo ship, but the couple get quickly separated and put in different containers. Mia's container is washed off the ship by the storm, and soon after she has to give birth underwater. She is forced to eat anything she can get her hands on, including raw fish. She also strives to survive rising water levels, with a newborn baby she names Noah. The story of her struggles to stay alive, and keep her newborn child alive too, in the most dire of circumstances, is both harrowing and tragic. After being marooned for so long, by herself in cramped and inhospitable environs, does Mia ever make it out alive with her newborn in the end?
At this point, if you are new to Scenes Recap, click the free subscribe button to never miss any updates from us. Also feel free to give us a like, if at all this plot would interest you.
The movie reveals that a terrible crisis had plagued Europe and neighboring states. People didn't have access to basic necessities. Countries like Ireland had been able to bring the issue under control. However, Spanish government was having a hard time managing resources and providing for its people. The state resorted to dictatorial military rule and oppressive ways when they realized that nothing could be done about the ongoing issues. Dubbed "Not Enough at All" Operation, austerity measures and a lack of resources have seen this group weasel their way in, promising that the shortages and measures would just be temporary. First they exterminated the elderly to deal with the shortages. Now, they've turned their attention to killing off pregnant women and kids. Following this, a huge chunk of the population started to leave the country. It wasn't easy to do so through legal channels, and this compelled people to resort to other illegal means to escape the country and save their lives. Many aggrieved families joined the mass exodus, and amidst them was a couple, Mia and Nico. One of the big mysteries in the movie revolves around someone whom Mia references at the start of the movie with Nico. Inside the container she says to him, "What if she's alive and we're leaving her behind?" Nico, however, replies that she's been taken and is dead. So who is this person? Well, it turns out this is Mia's other daughter, Uma. She was taken by the authorities, and Mia is racked with guilt over this choice. When the regime took over, Mia and her family locked themselves inside their house, while Nico would go out to get them food. Mia let Uma go outside to play one day, with reasons that she didn't have enough room to play. In doing so, she was taken by the authorities and killed. The two young couples, Mia and Nico, are looking to stow away on one of the containers at a storage yard that is being placed on an ocean liner set to sail. They are having a child together, and Mia is very close to giving birth as the story begins. The pair is seeking to get out from under the murderous military rule of their home country, so that their newborn can know freedom. It really resonates with some of the refugee crises that we are seeing today, as the oppressed people of countries similar to the one portrayed in this movie head out of their homeland in search of a better life. Governments are falling, and it appears like the same thing is happening around the world. It's not explained fully, but through Nico and Mia's dialogue, we do know that countries like Ireland, Iceland and Norway have managed to stop the massacres and are opposing the regime. Nico, alongside other refugees, is convinced that Ireland won't give in. However, Mia herself even says, "Governments are falling everywhere. Will Ireland hold out? It seems like it's only a matter of time." Nico and Mia get separated at the early stages of the movie, before they arrived at the port. The military stopped their respective trucks for checking. You get to see just how brutal the regime is, when an entire container full of dozens of helpless people, trying to escape into an adjacent container, is gunned down by a cruel and detached soldier, who relishes the opportunity to kill innocents. We are not told who the regime are, but we do know that they are ruthless, and have seemingly mobilized across Europe. Somehow, Mia manages to keep quiet after hiding by climbing over a wooden box, where the officers couldn't see her. After the deplorable slaughter, Mia tries to contact Nico, so that she could tell him that even they would have to go through a security checkpoint, where the officers were killing everybody, but unfortunately, she was not able to reach him. It was by God's grace that Mia's cargo was finally put on the ship, and she embarked on her journey. Not knowing when she would be reunited with her husband, or if he would even be able to make it out of Spain alive. Mia could see through the hole in that shipping container, and she was hopeful that she would reach Ireland. What she didn't know was that her troubles had just begun, and she had a long road and some terrifying obstacles in front of her, that she still had to overcome. The ship on which she was on is hit by a massive storm. And the container that Mia is hiding in, is swept overboard and into the middle of the open waters. It was a horrifying sight when Mia peeped out of the hole, and saw the containers floating in the water. Probably no one from the crew was left alive. Mia and her unborn daughter were stranded in the vast expanse of water, not knowing if or when help would arrive. She is stranded inside a metal box and left to her own devices to survive. Her phone doesn't work and she's got minimal amount of supplies. She does have another phone, but doesn't know the PIN code to get in. However, she finds a pocket knife and uses that to pry open all the other boxes, which have an array of different goodies, which included plastic lunchboxes, headphone wires, booze and hoodies. Within days of being marooned in the middle of nowhere in the Atlantic Ocean, Mia is alone when she goes through the agonizing process of childbirth. Things are no longer about her own survival, but she now has a newborn girl to keep alive as well. Something she dreaded from the very beginning. Mia gave birth to her daughter, and for a moment, she thought that she had lost her. But Noah was alive, and Mia did whatever she could to make the child comfortable. The proverbial adage, necessity is the mother of all invention, becomes the order of the day very quickly. And she proves to be incredibly resourceful. The first thing she must tend to is the holes in the crate, that are allowing the container to take on water. Fortunately, one of the many crates that are in the container has some duct tape, that she immediately applies to keep the container afloat. She was constantly pumping water out of the container. Even amidst such chaos, she made sure that her baby girl was safe and warm. The next necessity is food. Mia ate whatever she could get in the container. And once that food was finished, she knew that she would have to improve and find ways to keep herself alive. Mia manages to use her pocket knife and the drill to begin forcing her way out the steel ceiling. Unfortunately, both break under the pressure. She eventually uses a rope wedged in the gaps, and manages to use her own body weight and strength to pry the metal down and open up a route out. Much to her horror, Mia gets cut when she is trying to climb on the top of the container, and blood starts oozing out of her leg. She stitched herself and somehow managed to stay alive because she knew that her daughter needed her. With her baby Noah, named after her grandmother, in tow, Mia starts to survive on top of the container. She gets fresh water from the rain, which she keeps in the plastic lunchboxes. She also tossed over some, with SOS messages. Mia manages to fashion herself a net and catch fish, which she eats raw. There were times when Mia felt like things were under her control, and she could sustain herself for a prolonged period of time. However, she was just being delusional because the reality was that the container was sinking. And though she was trying to extend the time period she had on her hands, it was going to go down inevitably. The water level inside the container kept increasing, and there came a time when Mia had to climb on top and stay there with her daughter. Finally, after she had been drifting in the ocean for 20-odd days, Nico called, and he told her that he had been shot by the military. In all probability, he notes that he wouldn't be able to make it out of there alive. Mia was heartbroken, as she could see her world shattering in front of her eyes. She told Nico that she had given birth to a daughter. The poor man talked to Noah over the phone, knowing that would be the last time he was doing so. Mia talking to her husband, knowing that it was the last time she would hear his voice, was probably the toughest thing that Mia had to do in her life. Even tougher than surviving in the middle of the ocean. we believe that Nico succumbed to his injuries. That said, before taking his last breath, he made Mia promise that she would fight and that she would reach Ireland, and also give the kind of life to their daughter that they had always dreamt of. Eventually, Mia makes a raft out of the inflatable plastic containers and decides to head out after surviving on fish for 26 days. Just before she leaves, the container starts to fill rapidly with water. Mia ends up stranded out in the sea. With the container underwater, Noah is safe in her inflatable container, but Mia can't find her. Thankfully, there were a couple of random whales popped up out the ocean. They spray water on Noah and she starts crying in the water. Mia swims over to Noah and survives by holding onto the side of the raft for the entire night. Mia kept hanging onto the raft, and she had no energy left in her body. She hoped for a miracle to happen, but she slowly started to lose consciousness. She is woken up in the morning by the sound of the seagulls. Before Mia seemingly succumbs to her harrowing predicament and goes under, she makes one last brilliant move. As she holds onto Noah's small makeshift raft, she also brings a small Tupperware container of dead fish that she places in the water one by one in what we think are her final moments. She does this in order to both draw a flock of circling seagulls as a signal to any nearby boats, and to give Noah extra time before they go after her baby. The final sequence of the movie shifts to a small fishing boat out for a fun day of deep-sea angling. The boat is named Mickey, and on board are a father and his daughter who are speaking in distinct Irish accents. It becomes clear that Mia and Noah have drifted all the way from the beaches of Spain to somewhere off the coast of the Emerald Isle. When the two notice the gulls flying above Noah's small raft over the starboard side of the vessel, they immediately pull it in, and are astounded to find a newborn baby swaddled in a small blanket. There was no sign of Mia, and we believed that she had surrendered to her fate. They are gobsmacked yet again to discover a twine rope attached to the tiny raft that leads beneath the level of the water. It takes all the strength of both to lift Mia's unconscious body up and into Mickey. She is pale and is not breathing, but the young woman is undeterred in delivering CPR and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. In the epilogue, the Irish woman looks at her father as if to say, "There is no way I am going to let this child grow up without her mother." And she continues to pound at Mia's chest. The unfathomable happened, and Mia coughed water out of her mouth. Mia was alive, and so was Noah, and they had reached the shores of Ireland. In the last scenes of this movie, Mia seems to have kept her promise to her husband. And we hope that now she will be safe and spend the rest of her life happily with her daughter. We don't know if Mia and Noah will ever be able to go back to their homeland or not. What we can tell is that Mia would make sure that her daughter has everything she needs, and that she understands the sacrifices made by her parents to bring her into this world. Thank you for spending some time with us. Also share your thoughts with us by dropping your comments below. If you would like to see more scenes recap like this, click subscribe to never miss any of our future updates.